Hello, Tiger fans. Thanks for tuning in for a new week of Tiger Timeout along the Campbellsville University Sports Network. Matt Payton with you as we take a look around Tiger and Lady Tiger basketball, starting with Campbellsville's women's program first. The Lady Tigers in action this weekend. The head coach, Ginger High Colvin, joins me in just another ho-hum week of Lady Tiger basketball, right?
Yeah,
this
right.
past weekend.
No biggies, right?
Nothing cool to talk about here. We'll start with Wilberforce before we get into the victory over Thomas More. Coach, it's a one and done, I guess, for Wilberforce up there at their place as a member of the Mid-South Conference, and that's a difficult place to play. And I feel like I talked to Coach Brent Vernon about this. The men get a little more of the treatment, the business on the road, maybe. Yeah. I feel like oftentimes on the women's side, there's a little more civil, right?
Right.
Boy, that was kind of wild on Thursday night.
It was wild. It was wild from the moment we got there, really, till the moment we left. So it was an experience for our kids, and they had a great fan base that showed up, and their cheerleaders showed up, and it was an experience and something that we started out flat. I was afraid we would start out flat because you hear trap games all the time, and we had beaten Wilberforce pretty easily at home, and then we had a big game on Saturday, and my fears came about when I knew that we would maybe come out a little flat.
Bit of a slow start for the Lady Tigers as we look at the numbers from the win over Wilberforce on the road. Campbellsville gets it done 89-54, but it was neck and neck, back and forth the first 8 minutes or so, Coach. I think you took the lead late in the first quarter, never looked back from that point. Sarah Sutton with a big evening, 16 points at multiple three-point field goals in that one. Caitlin Wilkes had 12. She got going late in the ball game. Maddie Boyle with 10. So kind of started maybe a slow start, feet in the sand type of thing, but certainly picked it up as the game went along.
Yeah, you have to almost give Sarah Sutton the game ball on that one because she came in and Sparks had 3 threes the first half. We took the lead on a made three-pointer by Courtney not at the buzzer, but right at the end of the first quarter. And then I guess you could say we didn't look back after that. We just slowly pulled away, and it was nice to see Sarah come in and give us that energy that we needed.
And trap game is a term. I don't know, coaches, how you feel about the term trap game. Some coaches will say, "Oh, I hate it. There's no excuse," but it's very real. And when you're dealing with college athletes, they're 18 to 22, 23 years old. That one on Saturday was obviously going to be a big one. That was the one you circle on the calendar at home from the very beginning. So it was kind of a perfect spot for Wilberforce, and it's a team that you can't overlook. They played some people close, especially at home.
They really have.
Even though they hadn't won a game in league.
And that's it. They've played a lot of teams close. If they get hot and shoot the ball well, which they did, they scored 18 points against us in the first quarter. And I talked to the girls before that. I said, everybody's talking to you about a game this week. Is it Wilberforce? And they were like, nope, not Wilberforce. I said, but you have to play Wilberforce. And in a way, Wilberforce was a lot more important than the Thomas More game, because if you lose that Wilberforce game, the outcome's a lot more severe than if you lose that Thomas More game. So we just, I was not happy with our first quarter, but I was happy the way we bounced back and got the W.
On Saturday at the PAL, number 1 Thomas More came calling Campbellsville up to the task. They get a win over the number 1 ranked Saints. As we take a look at the final game numbers from that one, Campbellsville with an 11-point victory over Thomas More, 70-59. Lauren Lee led the way with 15.6 rebounds. Courtney Pritchett had 14 in the victory, and Caitlin Wilkes with 13 and 8. That performance for Wilkes would help propel her to the NCCAA Player of the Week, so we congratulate her on that one. And Coach, a total team effort against Thomas More. I think you knew it would require that. That is a really good Saints team. They have a terrific 1-2 punch with Zoe Barth and Courtney Hurst. Fortunately for you guys, you were able to kind of keep Courtney Hurst in check. Zoe Barth, however, had a heck of a ball game. If
we vote today, Zoe Barth's my vote for Player of the Year in our league. She is so talented. She's not one of those kids that come in and you think, man, she can really jump, or she's super quick, but her skills with the ball, her skills knowing what to do and making plays down the stretch, or just when they need a play, making a play. We hit a big three, our crowd goes wild, Zoe Barth's hitting a layup, and she just almost answered everything that we did. And so he's got a good one in her, and he's got a great one in hers too. And they've just got so solid. They're so fundamental in what they do offensively and defensively. When I watched them at the beginning of the year, I was like, holy cow, man, they're better defensively this year than they've been in the past, in my opinion. So and when you said total team effort, you know, people say that all the time. It was genuinely a total team effort. Every kid that got on the floor for us made something happen, and I felt like contributed to that big win for us.
And you go back and watch, I'm sure you've taken a look at it a little bit and removed yourself a few days from the victory. What was it? What was the difference in the win?
Well, we were a little more aggressive than we were at their place offensively, I felt like, and we didn't just throw everything to our post. I felt like our guards got to the rim a little bit better. We got some transition baskets that we wanted to get. And then defensively, we switched it up a little bit, and they didn't get so many wide open looks at the three. They're going to get wide open looks just because of the way they run their offense, because of the way they pass the ball, but we didn't give them just stand still, 2-second wide open looks like we did at their place.
Yeah, and you mentioned the aggressiveness. I thought Courtney and Lauren, especially
I
at
agree.
times, were super aggressive.
Yes.
And again, that can really just change everything.
Oh, sure,
offensively.
especially, and you know, you think it might be crazy, but I think one of the biggest baskets of the game was Lauren's the first 2 points of the game. We lost hers. Actually, Lauren fell when we lost hers. Obviously, she drained a three to begin the game. Lauren went right back down and had a 3-point play. And so that, you know, your panic mode sets in. You're like, oh, my goodness, are they going to do this again? And then she just goes right back down and answers. And then Courtney was as aggressive as she's been all season and scored 10 points early and just got us going, got us settled. And then the rest of us just kind of followed along.
And as we put a bow on the win over Thomas More, we would be, remiss if we didn't mention the crowd in the PAL.
Right.
In my time here over the last, we'll say 10 years, 10 to 12 years, that was as wild as I remember it. It was, and I really didn't feel like the student section was as big as it's been, but it was certainly it made
wonderful.
Their presence felt. And you know, I talked to Coach Vernon. Go back to 2014-15 year, Lindsey Wilson came in highly ranked.
Right.
That was with Devon Campbell and Demontre Harris. It was nutty then for the Blue Raiders and Tigers.
Yes.
But I thought Saturday was every bit as good as anything I've ever seen.
I think probably Saturday the difference for us was we've never, not say never, but we've not had that opportunity to knock off a number one with that kind of a crowd around. We've had the opportunity before in a national tournament setting, but not at home. And I say it all the time when I go to a gym and there's a band, it changes everything for me. I just love that atmosphere, and you throw our band in and then you throw our student section in, and when your president's in the middle of your student section helping get the cheers going, that says so much about Campbellsville, and we've always had good community support, and it was just, I was shocked, to be honest with you, at the group of fans that we had that day.
Lady Tigers get the win over Thomas More Saturday, right back in action on Thursday. Another top 25 opponent awaits in Eastern Kentucky. The Pikeville Bears will step away, take a timeout, come back and visit with the head coach about that one. Stay with us on Tiger Timeout.
Baby, you see, I cannot set you free. My lonely days are gone. That's why I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Babe, I'm never gonna let you go. No, never gonna let you go.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go.
We continue here on Tiger Timeout this week. Matt Payton with you as we take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Lady Tigers. They're on the road Thursday to take on UPike. The Bears await in the Expo Center, and then Saturday they return home for that rivalry matchup with John B. Wethington and the Lindsey Wilson Blue Raiders. We'll get to those guys up the road in just a minute, Coach, but a big one against Pikeville. And interesting, you beat Thomas More, but you're still a half a game behind Thomas More in the Mid-South Conference standings because of a makeup date with Pikeville. So now you did maybe the hard part. I don't know, maybe not, because you go on the road against another top 25 just to even things up with Thomas More in the Mid-South Conference standing. It's going to be a wild finish.
And Pikeville's sitting in the top 25. I think they're probably a top 10 team. Yeah. They lost early in the season to Freed, so that kept them in the conference standings a little lower, so that kept them in the national standings a little lower. Well, now they're on a 12-game win streak. Their last loss was at Thomas More by 5. So in my opinion, I think that Pikeville's probably a top 10 team. That's not a top 10 team right now. But they took a trip at Christmas, so we had to reschedule that game. And now we're going to have them twice in a 2-week span. So that's going to be a tough one for us. You get the Thomas More game, which is great, but man, we sure have our hands full going to UPike.
Yeah, I think UPike's got a couple of losses to top 25 teams. Rio Grande got them early in the year, and then, as you mentioned, Thomas More, Freed Hardeman. I forget who their fourth loss is against, but they're not losing to slouches by any stretch.
No.
Let's take a look at the numbers as Campbellsville hits the road on Thursday, 5:30. The start time, you can catch the call on 88.7 The Tiger. I'll be there for it. Campbellsville 21-1 on the season. UPike at 18-4. The Lady Tigers still holding strong, and a lot of those numbers nationally, field goal percentage, also 3-point percentage, really high for Campbellsville, second in the country in those. And UPike with some familiar names, Coach, Mary Englert, Morgan Stamper. They've added a young lady, Allie Stone, I believe, that has had a couple of Conference Player of the Week awards, including this past week. So Coach Clifton Williams,
Sierra Feltner, they're just,
along.
They have played extremely well, and it's a veteran ball club, and they're just just in a zone right now, and they're just playing extremely good basketball, playing together. They know one another well. Mary Englert, the basket's as big as the ocean for her, and she's just she can do so many things. She can shoot the three, or she can back you down if she's got somebody a little bit smaller than her, and then probably one of the best rebounders in the league with Morgan Stamper, and then Sierra Feltner comes through and makes plays when you've kind of forgotten about her, and like you said, they've added a really good shooting guard. So it's they've got a good crew. Clifton does a great job with them, and we know we've got our hands full.
And interestingly enough, your last trip to Pikeville as members of the Mid-South Conference, kind of, that trip is difficult, but I know you and Clifton are good pals, and it's kind of a tough one to know that they're leaving the league.
Yeah, I'm really sad about that. I hate to see that because he's a great coach. It's always clean competition. It's always good competition. And we'll always be able to be friends after the fact. And I hate seeing that leave because Pikeville's been a part of the Mid-South Conference since it formed, and it's just a great place for us to go play. Clifton and I have talked. We plan on continuing to play one another, but it won't be in that conference setting. And but still, we'll be able to keep in touch and play, and it's always going to be a good game when we go there or when they come here.
And the Lady Tigers, again, on Saturday, will take on Lindsey Wilson College, 1 o'clock start time. Campbellsville got a win over the Blue Raiders earlier this season, and Coach Wethington's club has struggled at times, Coach. At times, they have played some terrific basketball game, maybe a little of Jekyll and Hyde. They went down there and beat 2 really good teams in Florida the same time that you were there. They came back and almost had Thomas More at their place last week. It was I think a 17-point Thomas More lead late. Lindsey Wilson went on a 16-0 run or something to that effect, and got really close.
I think with about a minute 10 to go, Lindsey had a shot to tie it. So yeah, he plays Thomas More. He beat Thomas More last year. John's always got a good game plan, and he's never afraid to go out and try that game plan. His kids are playing hard. He's had some injuries, and they had to regroup after those injuries. And in Florida, I feel like they played extremely well. We got to watch them play twice, and I've not been able to see their Thomas More game, but I know they played them close. And I don't care what it is. You throw it out the window when it's Lindsey, Campbellsville, and we're going to be coming off 2 really emotional top 25 games, so it's not to look ahead to Lindsey, but I know it's going to be a tough one.
And then, as we wrap up on a positive this week, a big positive, you had another signing this past weekend. This past week, actually, we talked about Katie Chandler, maybe briefly, from Rowan County that you got in the bag a few weeks back, months back. And here this week, Reese Estep, who has some family ties to Campbellsville University, which is pretty cool. And I know you're looking forward to getting her on campus.
I'm so looking forward to it. After we signed yesterday, I told Hootie that I said, we've got 2 kids coming in that will run through a brick wall for you, and that's Katie and that's Reese. Reese is our softball coach, Shannon Wathen. Shannon played basketball for us, was a great All-American point guard for us. And Reese is not a point guard, but she has Shannon's height, and she has Shannon's fire. And she is, if I had to compare her to any of our former Lady Tigers, I probably would throw her in there with that Savannah Gregory category. And anybody that follows us knows that's a good category to throw her in. And that's an on the floor and off the floor kind of kid. And she's had a knee injury this season, so she's not been able to finish her senior season. But Derek Port will get her straightened out, I know, and we're looking forward to having both of those kids on our roster.
Awfully exciting stuff going on around Lady Tiger basketball. We'll let Coach out of the hot seat. We'll come back and get Brent Vernon here and his thoughts as the Tigers are in action on Saturday against Lindsey Wilson. Stay with us. We'll be right back here on Tiger Timeout.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Welcome back, Tiger fans. Tiger Timeout continues here on the CU Sports Network. Matt Payton with you as we visit now with the head coach of Tiger basketball, Brent Vernon. Campbellsville University gets a split last weekend, and Coach, you did it the hard way. You got the road win. Couldn't quite get it done at home, but it's so hard to win on the road in this league. Obviously getting one at Wilberforce, that's a big deal.
It is. It's a long day on that Thursday, making a 4-hour trip up there.
And a 7-hour trip.
I want to say, yeah, it did. Playing a basketball game that, we jokingly say is more almost like a track meet because of the way Wilberforce plays. Then getting right back on the bus, and obviously had a little bit of weather that slowed us down, getting in late, and then getting to class on Friday. But, man, our guys went up there and competed hard, fought through some adversity within the crowd setting there, had an injury that we were working with and trying to limit minutes because of that and everything else, but our guys did a good job of sticking to the game plan and getting a win at a very tough place to play at.
We'll take a look at the numbers from the win over Wilberforce. Malik Muhammad had a big day for Campbellsville, his career best, 28 points for CU in the 81-72 victory. Keaston Brown had 17, also a career high, and Javon Smith with 11 points for Campbellsville. And Coach, we'll start there with Malik, maybe his best performance, especially offensively as a Tiger. I think he was 11 for his first 11. He finally missed, but he almost had, a perfect day from the floor. He did just about everything for you guys on Thursday.
He did, and went unseen a little bit, had a few block shots in there, and just really changed the game. And Wilberforce had to play a big that we really hadn't scouted. I think actually just maybe gotten eligible at the break, so didn't know much about him. But because of the way Malik was scoring against them, they had to change their lineup a little bit, tried to go a little bit bigger and didn't work, obviously. But it goes to when we took care of the ball in their press, he got some easy baskets. And then when they went man-to-man, our guys did a very good job of making sure he got the ball in his spot that he likes, and then he finished on that end. So very proud of how he went in there, again, in a tough environment.
And you guys were basically holding your breath early in the game. Jace Wallace gets dinged, kind of falls funny, trying to take a charge. And so the rest of the game, you're trying to, watch that and obviously manipulate Jace's minutes when you need him out there. And I know that was something that was awfully difficult for you guys to kind of navigate.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, it was a game that we felt we had to go in. And very first play of the game, Jace takes a charge and just lands a little awkwardly, falling back on his wrist, hand area. And Jace is one, he's wiry, but he's not real physically big and strong, but he's tough. And the thing that he kept saying every time we would take him out is, when you need me, let me know. If not, though, he goes, I'm hurting. And so we get up 8, 9, 10, we make that sub, and then we falter a little bit and get to that 5 range, and half the time, by the time we got to the 5 range, we didn't have to send him back in. He was already going because he knew what was coming. But I give him credit, man. He really toughed it out. Didn't change the way he played, was aggressive at the rim. Loose balls were happening. He's diving on the floor, sacrificing himself for our team. And that's something that, as a coach, you can't rave enough about.
You guys get Thomas More here at home on Saturday, and the Saints, maybe one of the most difficult matchups in the league for you all. 79-51, they were just an extremely physical bunch. Jace Wallace and Jordan Graham with 10 each. Chandler Clements had 8 there against Thomas More. Offense was kind of hard to come by for you guys on Saturday, but you know, with some of the pieces they throw out there, you know, obviously Reed Jolly he's going to have his name's going to be right at the top of the balance for Conference Player of the Year when things are all said and done. But that's just a big physical bunch coming right off that game where you mentioned track meet. That's Wilberforce really takes a lot out of folks.
They do, and it was a very similar start to the game against Thomas More here that we had at their place. Really nip and tuck for about 16, 17 minutes. Last 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the first half, they go on a run to extend to 10. At their place, they extended to 10, and Jace makes a 75-footer to cut it to 7. Unfortunately, he missed his 80-footer on Saturday. So we come out of the break, make a shot to start the half and get it to 7, and you're thinking, okay, a little momentum there. And then they just sort of hit us with a barrage of shots. And you go back to their physicality, and it's not that we can't handle it, but going back and watching the film, you could really see some fatigue setting in with our guys. And partially from the travel Thursday night, and getting to class Friday. But I think it even goes back further. You know, we're 10 able bodies right now. Our practices have been great, competing hard and really getting after each other. And some of that sometimes catches up with you. And as one, Malik's had a tweaked ankle, Jace's hand, Keyston Brown just mentally and physically, a lot on his shoulders, is sort of banged up. But our guys still, you know, it's sometimes hard to see whenever a team starts making shots and you lose the lead. Our team continued to hang in there and battle. We worked on a few things that we hadn't got to work on. And you just got to tip your hat to Thomas More. They just made a lot of shots on Saturday.
Yeah, and you've got a little downtime. You go back the last 3 weeks, a lot of close, emotional games on the road. A 1 point or a 1 possession loss to Bethel could have easily went the other way. A terrific Freed Hardeman team down there got you pretty good, but you come back, you get an overtime win over Cumberland. Those are always emotional. A game that, you know, you could have won, maybe should have won over UT Southern. We won't get into that.
Right.
But then you go on the road, Wilberforce. I mean, you are in. I mean, it's just a grind right now in the Mid-South.
It is, and you look at it. There's log jams everywhere. I mean, at the top, in the middle, sort of down the low, and that's just the way it is. And I truly believe, you know, we 12 teams, 1 through 11, when you look at scores, and you can throw, especially Wilberforce at home, 1 through 11, man, we're beating each other up, and everybody's competing incredibly well with each other. And do we have maybe that dominant team we've had in the past? Probably not. But we have 1 through 11, some really darn good teams. And again, I give our guys credit. We've had some adversity that they fought through, and that's part of life. And we haven't given in, and we're one of those teams that are fighting to continue to try to angle our way for some minimum in the postseason. And you know, we have 5 games left, and our guys got together on Monday, and I know they had a really great just sort of team bonding with each other to talk about some things, because they understand where we're at and how close we can be. And you know, we've got some leaders and some young guys who are really taking advantage of this and are really excited about what we have to end this year.
Unlike the Lady Tigers, the Tigers get a little rest here. They have this week off up until Saturday, where they'll get Lindsey Wilson at home. They knocked off the Blue Raiders at the Bigger Sports Center earlier this year. We'll step away, come back, and get the coach's thoughts on the upcoming matchup with Lindsey Wilson. Stay with us here on Tiger Timeout.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back to our closeout segment on this week's edition of Tiger Timeout. Matt Payton with you. Thanks for tuning in as Campbellsville's Tigers will host Lindsey Wilson on Saturday. But before that, as the head coach with me now, Brent Vernon, a smile to your face, rest. I know that's been hard to come by in the late season schedule, the way this works out, but you get your travel partner, Lindsey Wilson, gives you an opportunity to kind of maybe rest up a little bit, work on the Tigers a little bit, and then prepare for a game on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's already been beneficial. You know, it's late in the year. Practices are shortened down. Still practicing extremely hard, but not as long. But we've got, and everybody is like that this part of the year. Everybody's nicked up, banged up. So we use this time to recover a little bit, catch our breath, watch a little film, and then just continue to build off of it. And our guys, like I said, they're excited. You know, we're playing 3 freshmen a ton of minutes, a sophomore a ton of minutes that are still figuring out the rigors of college basketball and just college in general. And that's what I think maybe is most exciting for me all the way around is our seniors are leading in a proper way. Our juniors and all those guys are doing what's necessary, and our freshmen are just, they're soaking everything in and learning. And you see the maturation process taking advantage. And like I said, I'm just very excited what we have coming up.
You get Lindsey Wilson on Saturday following the women's game, 3 o'clock, the start time in the Powell Athletic Center. The Tigers and Blue Raiders, you can see a lot of the numbers close throughout the season. You got them pretty good over there at their place, Coach. And, you know, both teams a little different. You're without some guys. They've added a few pieces like Tayshawn Buckles and different things. And they still have one of the most dynamic scorers in this league in Elijah Jordan. And I know he'll certainly be a big focal point for you guys.
He will, and he was the first time. I think our biggest thing is you got to throw the first time out because, like you said, we're short 1 or 2 than what we had. They've added a few, but you can't look at a score and think, okay, we did well the first time. We did do well. And we prevented them from maybe doing as well, but it's a 0-0 ball game. So our preparation of how we're going to attack is really already in full force, and our guys have been focused and determined to make sure we go in there and try to get this thing rolling on Saturday.
You get, you know, Lindsey Wilson, Chris Stark's a guy that, you know, you're familiar with. He's been there for a number of years. The good thing about at least this second go-around in conference play, you kind of know what teams want to do. So maybe even a little more time to focus on what Lindsey Wilson has typically done and what they'll do this weekend.
Absolutely, and he's a coach, and a lot of coaches like him and myself are like that. You've got a brand that you've worked with and done for a long time. There's not much that's changed, a little bit here and there. So it's more about personnel and what we have to do to slow down some of these guys. But we know what they're going to run, and we'll go over those in detail to where we're prepared. And like I said, we'll watch the film and make sure that our guys are focused on the right things. And Saturday should be a fun day.
Coach, best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Matt.
The Tigers and Lady Tigers coming down the home stretch of this 2022-23 season. Campbellsville's Women's Club on the road Thursday night, and Pikeville 5:30 the start time. I'll be there. 5:15 coverage begins on 88.7 The Tiger, and then Saturday the Blue Raiders come to Tigertown. 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock the start times. Coverage begins at 12:45 along the Campbellsville University Sports Network. A special thanks to head coach Brent Vernon and the head coach of Lady Tiger basketball Ginger High Colvin. I'm Matt Payton. We'll see you next time on Tiger Timeout.